Hello everybody, Buddy Web Midland, Texas. I'm going to do a little video this morning for you. I think you're going to find it real interesting. What we're looking at here is the City of Midland Public Records Request Center. And this is the web page you go to if you want to request police reports. And then you do here you click Submit a Records Request and Police Reports. And you fill in this page. You have to log in, of course. And you get this form that should be coming up. Oh, there it is right there. There's the form, and you fill that out and you ask for whatever you want. Okay, and the reason I want to show you that is because yesterday I got this letter back. I did a records request. Okay, and so I'm going to open this up right here. Then this is from the city attorney's office. Okay, see, it's dated January 18th. Okay, so it's 2 days ago. And it says, Dear Mr. Webb, on January 3rd, 2022, City of Midland received your public information request. You wrote a multi-paragraph narrative. The city understands your request to be copies of Midland Police Department report numbers, and that was incorrect. I already have them reports, and so that was a mistake, either intentionally or unintentionally. But anyway, they sent me the same reports that I already had, And then the second thing I asked for was all radio communications of certain Midland Police Department officers on January 28th and 29th, and then third, all Midland Police Department reports associated with the calls to a specified address before November 2008. My home. I wanted the police reports for my home before I moved in here, okay? And I'm going to explain that more in a minute. And I wanted them radio communications, okay? They sent me no radio communications. Basically they said, we already sent you the 911 call. I didn't ask for the 911 call. I don't want the 911 call. I already have it. I didn't even want the police reports. I already have it. I want the radio calls. And I'll tell you why I want them here. There was a police officer, I guess it was a police officer, sent me this message, and this was a few months back, okay? And he said, just watched your latest YouTube video. I just realized that you never mentioned the radio call logs for the police and sheriff office. You can do a Freedom of Information Act request, the radio logs for dispatch, the radios in cars, and the radios assigned to individual officers. They are all encoded. They are FCC registered and mandated to be archived. You can get printouts and voice recordings. There's a TAC terminal agency coordinator whose sole responsibility is to keep these records up to date for audits by the FBI or Texas Rangers. Just a heads up, and plus possibly another avenue for you to pursue, okay? And then he goes on and says, your scanner app is okay, but it doesn't capture everything on all channels, especially at the same time. On operations, it's unwritten SOP, standard operating procedure, to turn to separate channels for private talk. It's always under the guise of operational security and officer safety. That's bullshit. We do it most often to plain speak and talk shit. Thing is, we know people don't know how to properly Freedom of Information Act request the records, so we have no incentive to stop doing it. Okay, so this guy's giving me a clue that there is that there's possibly information on them radio calls, them radio channels. So that's what I asked for, and I didn't get. I didn't get any of them. So I sent in a second request. I'm going to go back to here on my Facebook post yesterday what I said here. I said they did not send me the radio broadcast that I asked for, and reminded me that they're denying me access to the police reports in regards to my home before I moved here. I suspected those reports would confirm what I suspected, and that is that the previous owner, Mike Lawhon, was murdered here and taken to Fort Worth. I also wondered if there were any previous calls to this home for people in the attic, and maybe information on the 4 people that Aaron Packelhofer told me had been murdered, died at my house. You can see why I would ask them, want the police records for this house before I moved here after what's happened, and they denied that to me. And, I think any homeowner would want to see previous police reports for their home, right? And I mean, that seems a common, request. There should be no problem with that, but they're hiding it from me, and I think it's because it has incriminating evidence in it. That's what I suspect. It's going to confirm what I said. This whole thing, this house is rigged. It's been used for murders, etc. I said this was my newest request for information today, and I copied and pasted it because I sent this in yesterday. I said, "Dear Mr. Gates, I received your letter for denial information from 1/18/22 in regards to the home invasion and premeditated capital attempted murder, which left me crippled for life on January 28, 2012. I believe that you misunderstood what I was asking for. I did not request the 2 report numbers as I already have them, but I did request all radio communications for the 11 police officers that were seen on camera at my home. It's my belief radio broadcasts at this time were not encrypted and were broadcast on a public radio channel that could be listened to by anybody. It's also my understanding there were encrypted channels too. I would like to listen to the recordings for these radio transmissions. The reason I'm asking for this information is because there were 6 officers who were seen on camera at my home and identified by Empire Private Investigations that were not seen arriving on my security cameras and whose names were illegally omitted from the falsified police report for this night. If you're saying that these public radio broadcast radio transmissions are now secret, then please advise." Okay. Since these officers were at a crime scene without being dispatched and not seen arriving at my home on the security cameras, then I suspect there's a radio transmission that may explain this. The officers seen at my home, whose names had been illegally omitted from the police report, were Martin County Sheriff John Woodward, Midland Sheriff Deputy Mike Naylor, Midland K-9 Police Officer Chad Simpson, Officer Greg Nelson, Mark Gilliam, and Michael Glick. Please provide me all radio transmissions from these officers for 1/28/12 and 1/29/12. The officers whose names were listed on the police report but were also not seen arriving were Rosie Rodriguez, April Chandler, Greg Chatwell, Tony Dickey, Marty Barrett, Matt Davis, Dylan Hell, Joe Ramirez, and Kenny Angel. Please provide me all radio transmissions from these officers for 1/28/12 and 1/29/12. With multiple people documented as saying that tunnels and underground homes are near my home and supporting evidence from Google Maps, I suspected that some of these officers were under my home that might explain why they were not seen arriving at my home. It was somebody under my home that had shot me by surprise with my phone lines cut in this violent crime. Thank you, Buddy Webb. Okay, so you can see, that was sent in yesterday. Okay, and it's kind of interesting when you look at, where I was told by this Bob Jones here about them records are archived, and and they are supposed to be available for the public to listen to, but the public doesn't know how to request them. Okay, that's what he was telling me. Okay, and so here, what I want to show you is what happened on some of my previous requests. Okay, because after I returned from the hospital, I found these pictures of police. These are the ones in the bedroom. These are the 2 that showed up out front of my house. And I wasn't given a police report for any police being at my home. That's what caused the secret police. They were illegally withholding the police report. I had requested it in 2012. And then in 2013, I had my attorney subpoenaed it. A judge signed off on it. And the police department ignored the judge's order, the court order, and withheld that police report. And it's obvious why they did it, because it held with incriminating evidence in it. Okay, I got the police report in 2019. Actually, them officers were identified in 2018 by the private investigator. This is right here was copied and pasted from my text message from my phone when the private investigator identified all 11 of the secret police. It was amazing. First one showed up at my house was a sheriff from a whole nother county in Texas. He wasn't dispatched. His name was missing from the police report. That's what I'm saying. Their names were missing from the police report. They had illegally, and that's a felony. Falsifying a government record is a felony, and it's felony after felony after felony after felony of them falsifying these records. Okay, the second guy that was following him was Mike Naylor, Sheriff Mike Naylor. He wasn't dispatched. His name wasn't on the police report. That's another felony right there, and he dies in 2014. Some people wonder if his death is not connected to these underground homes and these secret police. So I offered a reward, $2,000 reward First time in the history of America, a crime victim offered a award to identify police, not a news story in the nation. Our press has become a party to the crimes, corruption, and cover-up that's going on for these murders, burglaries, and thefts. Okay, and so, anyways, and in 2019, I seen a number that I didn't recognize on the reports, so I sent an information request in for this number, and I get the police report that they had been illegally withheld from me. It was withheld from me for 7 years. Okay, it's like, oh, this has gone on a long time. Why don't you drop it? It's because of obstruction of justice is why it's gone on this long. 7 years before I even got the police report for the night of the murder attempt. And then when I get it, that's where it showed the incriminating evidence. And the big thing was that 6 of them officers' names were missing from the report. And that's what this shows here. This column is the officers identified, caught on camera, identified by the private investigator that I paid $2,000 to. Okay, so you can see them here: Rosie Rodriguez, April Chandler, Greg Chatwell, Tony Dickey. He was a lieutenant. CSI Marty Barrett, John Woodward. That's a Martin County sheriff. This is Midland. Mike Naylor. He's now dead. He was a Midland sheriff deputy. Chad Simpson. He's now dead. He died 2 months after Naylor did. Supposedly murdered his wife, killed himself. Then Greg Nelson, Mark Gillen, Michael Glick, identified by the private investigator in that column. This come from the police report that I didn't get until 7 years later. These were the names on the police report: Rosie Rodriguez, April Chandler, Greg Chatwell, Tony Dickey, Marty Barrett, Matt Davis, Dylan Hale, Joe Ramirez, Kenny Angel. These wasn't caught on camera, okay? So I didn't even know about them. They were on the police report. These right here, their names were missing from the police report, but they're seen on camera. That's not, oh, we forgot one officer, it's an accident. This was intentional falsification of a government document. That's a felony. That's all there is to it. And this was the second entry to my home on February 1st, and the officers there: Rosie Rodriguez, Brian Rackout, Dylan Hale, Joe Ramirez, Todd Sandlin. And this time is when they got the bomb squad, and they were hiding the police report here, and they didn't know they got caught on camera is what the deal was. And this was going to be the only known entry, okay? And so they're coming, oh, buddy, you're crazy. We're coming in, and it's a whole con job is what it is, because this was a premeditated murder attempt is what it was. I'm ambushed and shot with my phone lines cut, and now it's proven. You're going to see police were under my home. When I got the police report and I started going through it line by line, here's what I found. This is why they withheld the police report, okay? Matt Davis is on scene at 11:03, but he's not seen arriving on the security cameras. The security camera saw Woodward and Naylor at 11:01, right? 2 minutes earlier. Matt Davis is mysteriously on scene, and he ain't seen arriving. How can that be, buddy? He came from under my home. That's how. Tony Dickey, inside my home, 11:05, not seen arriving. Inside my home. All my other doors were secured with extra locks due to the crimes I had been reporting. I'd been reporting repeated burglaries to my home, okay? That's why I had all these locks on my doors, Dickey's inside my home and he wasn't seen arriving. How'd you get in your home, buddy? He came from under my home. Greg Chatwell, 11:18, not seen arriving. Kenny Angel, on scene, 11:18, not seen arriving. Dylan Hale, on scene, 11:19, not seen arriving. These officers have some questions to answer, some big questions to answer, because I believe they were under this home in the underground facility, the underground homes that Sheriff candidate Joe Lozano said Sheriff Painter used to hang out in. Multiple people are documented saying them underground homes are here. You can see it on Google Maps. Okay, so here's the actual police report that we got, and this shows that where I got them timestamps from was from that report. So that's why they withheld the report for 7 years. It incriminated police. Okay, I created a video on this called Calling for Lieutenant Dickey to Tell the Truth, Tony Dickey. See, I know his mom. His mom works at the estate sales that I go to. Real super nice lady, I think a real good person, And it looks like Tony Dickey's involved in a premeditated capital murder attempt, And so I'm calling for him to tell the truth. How did you get my home, Dickey, and not be seen on camera? And then I tweeted this to News West 9, Big 2 News, the Midland Reporter Telegram, the Midland Police Department, Department, the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, the Justice Department, the Inspector General, CBS 7 News, the Fox News, and the Ken Paxton, our Attorney General in Texas, and the Texas DPS, okay, calling for Dickie to tell the truth of how you got into my home. It never happened, okay? Let me show you how Dickie got into my home right here, okay? Right here, first of all, you go to Google Maps and you look up my address, 3802 Fair Circle on Google Maps. On the block screen, you'll see a big building in the backyard you can't see on the sat screen. You can't see it from above ground. And all these people right here are documented saying that there's underground homes and tunnels here. And it's secret recordings, screenshots. It is a large, long list. And then behind my home right here directly is where you can see where the ground was cut. I believe that was the tunnel that was used and going from here to my home. And in the backyard was the underground home. That's where the oil show parties were at. And you remember Angie told me about a young girl being murdered at an oil show party in 2010, and she was 5 minutes drive from my house. I believe she's murdered right here. I believe the people that go on the oil show use this tunnel right here, okay? I showed this right here. I was back here with Homeland Security because they're supposed to take care of human trafficking, and that was a forced prostitution murder, okay? The girl went prostitute, they murdered her. And I'm back here, and I showed Homeland where this human trafficking murder tunnel was. 2 weeks later, the ground was dug up, concrete was poured. It has been absolute lawlessness, okay? And then in 2013, here's a Crime Stoppers. The remains of a 14 to 21-year-old girl was found outside of Midland. I suspect that's the girl that Angie told me was murdered at the oil show parties that were going on underground here, okay? Keep in mind, this is all, I didn't get that police report until 7 years, and I got it from an information request, okay? Now I want to go over, remember, I requested the previous records for my home. And as I said, I want to see if it has evidence showing that Mike Lawhon was died here. I want to see if anybody else reported people in the attic here, okay? And so I'm going to go over and I'm going to show you this. This might be why they're hiding that from me. Here's the previous young homeowner, 27 years old, Mike Lawhon. He dies a couple weeks before I closed on the home. I'm transferring in from out of town, 25-year company man, okay? I'm coming in from Hobbs, Mexico, and buying a home. They told me he died by accident. I had no reason to think different at the time, okay? This was the week before the 2008 oil show started. That means the parties were fixing to start in the backyard, in his backyard, the next week, and he dies. Okay, so one thing I found about Mike Lawhon is that the Odessa American posted a death notice for him on December 14th. He died on the 12th, 2008, saying he died in Fort Worth. You see that? It says he died in Fort Worth. But then 4 days later, they posted a second death notice and changed the location of death to say he died at his residence. Do you see that? They had 2 death notices posted for Mike Lawhon in 2 different locations. Here's the kicker. My neighbor that used to live across the street, Marilyn DeLuigi, told me twice that Mike died in this house, okay? And she also said somebody else died here before him, okay? I believe Mike was murdered here and taken to Fort Worth, and I got a feeling there's a police report showing something about that, and that's why they won't give me the police reports for this house before I moved here, okay? I'm going to show you some of the other evidence. This is from the brother, a half-brother of Mike Lawhon, okay? And see, the sister, Susan McGann, called me, and I had found a Kansas City cap under the cabinet from where I'm shot. And she calls and she tells me that they had a brother here in Midland named Brian Tennis, and Brian was a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. Well, this is Cowboys territory, okay? So there are some Kansas City Chiefs fans here, but there ain't a lot of them, right? And obviously that cap that was found under the cabinet from where I'm shot was left after I was shot, and so she was just offering this information up, okay? And so here I'm talking friend Brian Tennis on Facebook, and he's telling me that this confrontation between him and Mike before Mike died. My brother choked his ex-wife with a rifle and then had to be talked down by me. Okay, and so there was a confrontation between Brian Tennis and Mike before, and I wonder if there isn't a police report on that since there was a gun involved. Okay. Here's another person in Midland that wrote me, and she said, so I talked to a friend of mine that was really good friends with Mike, the previous homeowner, Lawhon, the guy that lived in the house before you did. I've been Julio hanging out with Michael. He said Mike would always talk about how he felt like people were in his house, how he knew people were in his house. See, these crimes were going on before I moved here, and Mike is dead. That's a big deal. You see what I'm saying? I mean, that's a big deal, especially when they cut my phone lines and shot me. Now, let me show you here. Here's one of the Odessa Americans says he died at his residence. Here's the medical examiner's case records, says he died in Fort Worth. That was his mom's house is what it was. And so, I mean, I believe he was killed here and then taken to Fort Worth. I wonder if he wasn't flown up there, drove up there, whatever. Here's the time of death. And the death was acute propoxyphene intoxication. I think that's Darvocet or something like that, you know. Which is, one thing's interesting is, you know, the ex-wife told me, the secret is a group of doctors are killing people for profit. And I bet they would have access to Darvocet, okay? Here on the very first day that I looked at this home with my realtor, that's her, Janine Pruitt. Okay, we were going through the home. I was taking pictures, and I happened to get a picture. You can see the kitchen here, and this is October 1st, 2008. Mike's still alive. Okay, see, the back door's fine. That's the back door into the garage. And actually, I was shot right where she was standing, but, you know, the back door's fine. And the point is that was on the October 1st, 2008, and October 28th, right here, the home inspector, Perkins Brazier, and myself was over here. I was buying the home. We're going to do a home inspection, and we found there's a hole in the laundry room door. Somebody had kicked out that doorknob, okay? So it was there on the 1st, and it was gone on the 28th. And what happened in between there? Mike died on the 12th, okay? I got a feeling that the people that murdered Mike kicked in that door right there, chased him down, gave him a shot of that Darvocet, took him to Fort Worth, okay? And that was because they were going to have the oil show parties the next week. Okay. Here's another guy. This guy said he owned the Harley dealership or something. You know, right on, buddy. My prayers are with you. But in today's world in Midland, you'll see anything's possible. Did the real estate person not mention someone died or was killed in that house? And so I took a print screen of that, you know. And no, she didn't mention that, you know. See, I didn't know where Mike died at. You know, that was a question for a long time. And it was confusing because there was 2 different death notices in 2 different locations, you know. Okay, and then this guy is the, you know, it was online, Aaron Beckover. He's a local businessman, you know, and here he's writing to me. I wish you luck in life. I won't involve myself. I'm well aware of the many corruption accusations against the Midland Police Department. I'm not so sure it's a secret police scenario as much as it is pure criminal activity by the police, okay? And, you know, and secret police is just a moniker that I gave them because I had pictures of police and I didn't have a police report because they were illegally withholding the police report, okay? But then he goes on and says, but if I can ask, there were 4 people who were murdered, died in your house. What are their names? Okay, he didn't say there was 8, right? He didn't say there was 12 people murdered. He knew exactly how many people were murdered, died in my house. I didn't, and obviously he knows their names. I don't, but I got a feeling one of them is Mike Lawhon, and the whole point of this is I got a feeling there's some police reports that are going to show this, okay? And then later I see where Aaron Packelhofer, the City of Midland, grants him $72,000 to start up his dream business. He started a brewery up with Jamie Hill. And so some people have been asking if that was hush money. You know, if they use taxpayers' money to tell him you need to shut up about these multiple murders and we're going to hide the police reports for that home. And, you know, and then we're going to cut Buddy's phone lines and shoot him, you know, or something. Okay, here we go. I'm going to show you another information request. that I got in the past. Okay, this is in 2019. Okay, and here's what I asked for. I said, I'm on a list of all 911 calls for the last 10 years where homeowners reported somebody in the attic. That's pretty simple. That's straightforward, right? And then here's same attorney, city attorney Gates, same one that I was writing yesterday. He says, according to the Midland Police Department, the enclosed record's the only record in the city's possession that is responsive to your request, and that had nothing to do with 911 calls for people in the attic. He was telling me that the Midland Police Department said that nobody had called and reported people in the attic in the last 10 years. That's what this says, okay? And I did an official, and these are government documents. I mean, they're legally bound to provide that to me. Well, let me show you something here, okay? Here's the police report when I called my first call and reported somebody in my attic. And that was in 1/8/2011, okay? And it sounds like someone is in the attic, okay? Complainant is holding his 9mm and in closet with the shotgun. I was scared to death. I was under a home invasion, freaking out. That was the first time. You can't imagine how many crimes being committed. And now we know they were going on before I moved here, okay? But the police department is claiming there's no record of anybody reporting people in the attic. That's what y'all saw, okay? Here, I'm going to show you another one. This is from the police report from Rosie Rodriguez, Detective Rosie Rodriguez. On 2/1/12, I contacted Buddy Webb at the Midland Memorial Hospital. Buddy had surgery and his foot was not amputated. I think that was interesting because I think they were trying to cut off my leg. I suspect she was working with the doctors to cut off my leg because it was proof, evidence that I wasn't shot with my gun, and that meant somebody shot me, and it looks like it may have been police that tried to murder me from under my home. Buddy continued to talk about the tunneling and people in his attic. Well, there you go. It's right on the police report. Buddy kept talking about the people in his attic. I'd already reported this, Y'all saw that, okay? There's another police report. I paid over $1,000 to install a Vivint security system in my attic, and it dispatched the police to my home twice. The Vivint system did. I didn't. The Vivint recognizes somebody's in my attic and dispatches the police to my house. Okay, homeowners there, he thinks someone in the attic. No, Buddy knows somebody's in the attic. I've been reporting it, but it was the Vivint alarm system that called the police. And this was one of the reports that was illegally withheld. This first one, and I think the reason is because they changed that report from an alarm to a warrant. They were going to arrest me, the crime victim, because my Vivint alarm system had called and reported somebody in my attic, and then they changed it back and said it was an accident. Okay, and one of the people on that call, Michael Chandler. That's the husband of April Chandler. Okay, she was one of the secret police. And then the second time that the Vivint system dispatched people in the attic, he's afraid someone's in the attic. Once again, I know somebody's in the attic, but it was my Vivint alarm system that dispatched the people, the police here. And on that call was Chad Simpson. He was one of the secret police. He was seen at my house, identified by the private investigator. His name was illegally omitted from the police report. That's why I want the radio communications for him, for Chad Simpson. And in 2014, he was alleged to have gone on to murder his wife and kill himself 2 months after Naylor died. Now we have 2 secret police dead and the policeman's wife. The other one was Stephen Bracken, okay? And Stephen Bracken makes this comment. He thinks there's people on the wall, not a good alarm. And I got a feeling that was an inside joke, because now I pretty much figured out that's how they're getting in the house, up a wall. They've rigged the home with a hidden crawl space up a wall. Ain't that funny? And then I got a letter from the city threatening to arrest or threatening to fine me if my Vivint alarm system called the police again. And so I disabled that system. And I've had this high-dollar, expensive system that dispatches the police twice. But keep in mind, the whole point is, when you do a records request, the City of Midland says nobody's requested anybody, nobody's reported anybody in the attic. And then what's interesting, just within the last few days, remember that reporter was going to interview me, and it's changed their mind last minute. Well, I need to get with the police and see if there's any records. Well, guess what? The police are lying about the records. That's what's happening, And they're saying nobody, in the last 10 years reported anybody in the attic. That's what they said, right? I mean, y'all read it, And I'm going to show you here. Not only do I have police reports.
Complainant saying she can hear someone up in the attic. She smells cigarette smoke. She took her family. They're going to be waiting out front.
And there's a whole bunch in Odessa, but I'm going to skip the Odessa because we're really just talking about Midland. So here I'm going to show you, I got a list here. There's other people that just told me and emailed me, and besides, on the scanner, but I kept a print screen and a document. So there's these addresses here in Midland, with names, and around the year that it happened at, and so who owned the house and all that. And there's Odessa. Keep in mind, the whole point is City of Midland or police department saying nobody's reported anybody in the attic the last 10 years. That is a bold-faced lie. So you see where I have a problem when you're doing a records request and I'm trying to figure out what's going on when I'm told that there's 4 murders here after I've been ambushed and shot, with my phone lines cut. And obviously police were under my home. I mean, obviously. Anyway, this is Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.